let this happen? How did the world's most livable city become the most locked down place on earth?
No removal of masks to consume alcohol outdoors. So you will no longer be able to remove your mask to drink a cocktail at a pop-up beer garden on a footpath as part of a pub crawl.
I remember, or should I say we remember, empty streets, police blocking roads and helicopters circling overhead. The world looked on and shook its head. This was Melbourne under COVID.
There's some crazy shit going on right now where the army is trying to keep people inside in Australia.
In Australia, where there are no restraints at all apparently, the country has declared a state of martial law. And now, the peasants of Australia have to find a way to drink alcohol through their face masks.
Australia currently, make no mistake, is a tyrannical police state. Its citizens are quite literally being imprisoned against their will. So when do we deploy?
But that's not even the craziest thing going on in Australia right now. The city of Melbourne just announced, quote, if you live in a larger household, such as a share house or with extended family, you can no longer exercise with all members of your household.
These weren't our own politicians talking. These were voices from around the world. This is absolutely ridiculous at what is happening here. Meanwhile, people like us, the locals, we're just trying to survive.
First of all, from 6 p.m. tonight, I am declaring a state of disaster across Victoria. This will be in addition to the state of emergency that has operated throughout. This means that police and others have additional powers. We can suspend various acts of the Parliament. We can make sure that we get the job done, and there's no question about the enforceability and the way in which new rules will operate. You will no longer be able to leave home or go any further away from your home than a 5 kilometre radius. You will not be able to be at any point more than 5 kilometres away from your home for the purposes of shopping for what you need. Only one person will be able to go shopping once per day, and they will need to secure the goods and services that are what you need within a 5 kilometre radius. In terms of exercise, recreational activity is now no longer allowed. You will be allowed to have 1 hour of exercise no further than 5 kilometres from your home. So there will be a curfew across metropolitan Melbourne from 8 p.m. this evening, and it will run from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. each and every day. And the only reason to be out of your home between the hours of 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. is to get care, to give care, or to go to and from work or be at work. We can no longer have people visiting others. We can no longer have people simply out and about for no good reason whatsoever. It is not an easy decision to make, but it is the decision that is necessary, and that is why I have made it. And that's why police will be out in force, and you will be stopped, and you will be asked, and you will need to demonstrate that you are lawfully out and that you are not breaching that curfew. Regional Victoria will move to stage 3 restrictions. That's stay at home, except for the 4 reasons to leave. That will mean that restaurants, cafes, bars, gyms, a whole range of other settings, we're well and truly acquainted with those, will need to close from midnight next Wednesday. That is not the position we wanted to be in, but we cannot have a situation where this continues to grow and grow in regional Victoria.
Remember when we were told it was just 2 weeks to flatten the curve? Then next minute came stage 4. In August 2020, the government imposed an 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew and banned us from travelling more than 5 kilometres from home. I can still remember on the news, so one person per household could only leave home once a day just to buy the essentials. Exercise was limited to 1 hour and face masks were mandatory everywhere.
First and foremost, masks and face coverings will from 11:59 p.m. Wednesday night be mandatory for everyone in Melbourne and Mitchell Shire. If you are out of your home for one of the 4 permitted reasons, then you need to be wearing a mask, and I stress we are going to be wearing masks in Victoria and potentially in other parts of the country, and it's a simple thing, but it's about changing habits.
It's brought my business to its knees, something I built from my garage, working from home, raising my 2 children, to employing people, to employing my husband, to building a household name has literally crippled us in the space of 18 months.
There's no question that getting vaccinated and being 2 weeks after your first vaccine gives you a level of protection. One vaccine is not enough, but even for those who are fully vaccinated and 12, 14 days post their second vaccine, I think it's problematic until we have clear directive from ATAGI and a national standard in that regard. I also think it's problematic when you see people who appear to be breaking the rules, as it were, until you can show that you've got evidence of vaccination and that it's an entitlement that applies across the board. You know, if you suddenly see a gathering of 50 people and they all say that they're vaccinated, it doesn't send a great signal. So, you know, there's good science in the protection that being fully vaccinated gives.
I even remember to keep my job, I had to get the double jab.
Hundreds of SPC employees walk through the door at plants like this in Shepparton in central Victoria every day. But if workers don't get their COVID-19 vaccine, they may be kicked off the production floor.
We're asking our employees and we're giving them a pathway to get mandatory to get vaccinated to be able to come on site.
All workers and visitors have 6 weeks to book their first inoculation. Workplace lawyer Josh Bornstein says staff might not have a choice if they want to keep their job.
A company can sack a worker if they don't comply with a lawful and reasonable direction. So the short answer is, if they've ticked all the boxes, they can sack an employee.
So I understand businesses looking to make choices. Now the legal basis for that, I'm sure they've taken advice about that, and that could be that will be an issue that we watch very closely.
In late 2021, Victoria ordered more than 1.2 million authorised workers to get at least one dose by October 15, and we must be fully vaccinated by November 26. And to shop, we had to show our vaccine passports. From October 22nd, we had to scan our QR code and prove we've been vaccinated to enter a pub, cafe, or even JB Hi-Fi. I even remember walking to JB and pulling out my phone to show my COVID certificate just to buy a PlayStation 5 game. Even at work, they scan our foreheads a few times a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. They checked if we had fevers, and we had to make sure we did not have a cough. Even if you had an itchy throat, you still had to hold it in. I even remember meat processing plants were ordered to reduce the output and check every worker's temperature while they wore full PPE. Looking back now, it was stupid. It felt so dystopian. So my son was born in June 2020. It should have been the happiest time of our lives. Though he was still happy, it could have been better. But instead, hospital rules meant only one support person could only attend the birth and no other visitors were allowed. Mothers on forums wrote that they couldn't even bring their grandparents or friends to meet their babies. Dads like me were told to wait in the car while the mums had the ultrasounds. We held a newborn alone and FaceTime our relatives who were desperately eager to meet their grandson. And then came the glorious panic point.
The fight over toilet paper that went viral around the world.
I just want one pack. No, not one pack.
A stampede of shoppers muscled through the doors of Docklands Costco. Inside, there's barely room to move.
The line to get into Costco.
Outside this Costco in Epping, hundreds queue in single file.
The entrance is all the way there.
Customers hoping to stock up on staples that have vanished from the shelves of Coles and Woolworths despite strict new purchase limits. Today, many of the shelves bare at this Yarraville Coles, pasta and pasta sauce gone. Flour and sugar in short supply, along with tinned food and nappies.
Supermarket shelves in Melbourne were stripped bare. We all remember there was no rice, no pasta, no meat, and of course there was no toilet paper. Sanitisers were gone. People drove hours to regional towns to raid their supermarkets. Country grocers had to ration customers to 2 packs of meat because city shoppers were buying everything. I even remember mixing my own hand sanitisers. We had to buy aloe vera from Chemist Warehouse, a bit of ethanol, and we followed some recipe we found on the internet to make our own hand sanitizer. All because the stores had ran out. And during that time as well, there was also a fashion statement because luxury brands like Prada and Gucci capitalised on this and started making their own designer masks. I remember even social media was filled with pictures of homemade sanitizers in mason jars and people showing off their Gucci face coverings.
Hey, it's TJ the editor here. Just a quick one. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment below on what video you'd like me to cover next, and make sure you turn on the notification bell. And if there's a hot button, hop it up. Let's get back to the video.
And whenever there was an outbreak, testing sites were overwhelmed. In January 2021, some Melbourne drive-through clinics had estimated wait times of 3 to 5 hours. Families would sit in the cars for half a day just to get a swab, terrified they might have brought the virus home. And unfortunately, I was one of them. Even our spiritual lives were put on hold. During the circuit breaker lockdowns in May 2021, the state banned all public gatherings. Churches were closed. Sunday services went online. Funerals were capped to 10 mourners, and weddings were only allowed under exceptional circumstances. We couldn't gather to pray, mourn, or celebrate. Many had to grieve alone on Zoom, which is so sad. I remember we couldn't even leave our own suburbs. And we all remember the guy that made on the news, the guy that drove all the way to the city, man, for buttered chicken. And that was probably one of the most expensive buttered chickens he's ever paid for, because he copped a fine for $1,652.
People need to exercise good judgment. Don't be going outside your local community unless you absolutely need to.
You broke the rules, you pay the fine. It's as simple as that.
I can even remember people walking alone on the footy oval. We're told off by the Karens for not wearing masks. I even remember telling off my kids not to sneeze in the shops, because you never know, man. The Karen will get you. And for me personally, at one point, I couldn't take it anymore. I tried to drive down to Mount Macedon to clear my mind. I remember at that time I was going through mental distress, and I wanted to desperately to go to my favourite place where I can relax, which was Mount Macedon, just to clear my mind. But I hit the ring of steel. And I remember the police and Australian Defence Force troops were manning the checkpoints on the highways. They stopped every car and checked our IDs, and authorities had introduced a new offence: leaving a restricted area, punishable by fines of almost $5,000. Only people with work permits or emergency could cross. So unfortunately, I had to turn around. And we drove home being all depressed. It was a very sad time. I felt like the walls were closing in and we couldn't breathe, and I wasn't the only one. And the harshest measure came in July 2020, when 9 public housing towers in North Melbourne and Flemington were put into a hard lockdown. Police surrounded the buildings and no one was allowed out for 5 days. Residents said food deliveries were late or even non-existent. Boxes contained expired items and they had to form their own support networks. I remember watching the news. It felt like a scene from 28 Days or something, like there was going to be a zombie outbreak. Meanwhile, returning Aussies were locked in hotel quarantines for 14 days. Families were split across continents and were unable to come home. So the government introduced a curfew that kept 5 million Melburnians inside from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. Later, Freedom of Information emails revealed that the curfew wasn't even recommended by health officials.
Just this week, Victoria's former Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton admitted that many of the insane measures intended to stop the spread of COVID were probably never necessary. And of course, Melbourne residents spent, almost 300 days in lockdown, and Brett Sutton called that period a horror show, and he wouldn't be drawn on what kind of measures he meant that weren't necessary. But of course, we lived through it. I mean, it was absolutely insane. children's playgrounds were closed. We couldn't go beyond 5 kilometres from our homes. There was a curfew that was never based on health advice. I mean, it's pretty frustrating after being put through so much. So many people had their businesses closed. You know, there's a whole mental health crisis after what we all went through during COVID, to hear now that actually some of the measures weren't necessary at all.
Yeah, and he was one of the principal problems during that period. We had these extreme measures. I mean, it was so extreme here, and it was not based on medical advice, and that's why Victoria is still suffering. Years later, Victoria is still suffering.
An email from the Public Health Commander said the idea of a curfew had not arisen from public health advice and was a decision taken by the Cabinet. Our own Chief Health Officer Brett Sutton said there was merit in it only after it was announced. And I wonder why people started calling Dan Andrews Dictator Dan.
Look at that, so many closed down shops, man. It's quite sad, to tell the truth. Because this place here years ago, guys, used to absolutely be crazy, man. I'm busy. But I don't think it's ever recovered, man, from COVID. Yeah, guys, we're at prime location, Chapel Street. Look at that. Next to each other, man. Both in for lease. More empty shops. Look at this, man. Absolutely crazy. Literally, man, this is almost like a ghost town. What's going on here? You know, due to the goddamn awful pandemic that happened not long ago, a lot of these restaurants are shut, man. All right? A lot of them are shut, and you can still see they're shut, and they've never truly recovered. That impacted Docklands big time. Look at it. So a lot of them are gone. A lot of restaurants are gone. Because I remember going past there when I was younger. This place was packed, man. Like, we're almost past lunchtime, guys. And 2000s, it was crazy. It was crazy busy. It was the place to be. This prime location here for sale. Look at the views there, man. Look at that. Empty. Maybe they want too much, which I wouldn't be surprised. And you got the promenade, Docklands, empty as well. I don't know if that's a...
So the lockdowns wiped out thousands of businesses. So during this time, restaurants lost 25% of their revenue, and hospitality jobs losses were in the hundreds of thousands. Industry groups warned that 10 to 20% of cafes and restaurants might never reopen. And walking down Chapel Street, Docklands today, even some in the city and even your local suburbs, half the shops are still empty. Remote working empty the city. Office towers are half full, and our amazing laneways that makes Melbourne turn into a ghost town. Behind every statistic was a family. Zerenjai English, who runs the Hill Thy Self Cafe in Yarraville, told Radio host Neil Mitchell that her once thriving business was on its knees. No one is coming out after COVID. The village is like a ghost town. I can't pay my wages on one person coming in for a smoothie. It's heartbreaking, soul destroying. We are not doing okay. She begged people to support local cafes before they disappear. And another man, Adrian Rigotto, owner of Match & Co. in Dingley, explained that his cafe revenue had fallen about 90%. We used to employ up to 30 employees. We are down to 5. He told 2GB's Jim Wilson. There's a lot of people who lost jobs. They have no income. I watched him speak on TV with tears in his eyes. He felt responsible for the livelihoods of dozens of staff. On the Morning Peninsula, Michelle Loriello lost 99% of her cafe's business during stage 4 lockdowns. She used to earn up to $20,000 a week, but was just making $400. As a single mother, she feared she couldn't provide for her 3 children and might lose her house. Her story was one of many. Melburnians cried on live TV as they laid off staff, sold their homes and watched their dreams collapse. The invisible toll was even worse. A survey by Monash University during the long lockdowns found that 1/3 of Victorians reported anxiety or depressive disorder. 1/5 experienced suicidal ideation, and 1/10 had seriously considered suicide. And unfortunately, I was one of them statistics. Our community resilient and upbeat, was plunged into darkness. I was dealing with heart problems at the time and also suffering from mental health issues myself, and the isolation made it unbearable. As I mentioned earlier, weddings were cancelled, funerals limited to a handful of people, couples postponed their special day again and again. People couldn't even properly say goodbye to their loved ones. Gyms, hairdressers, car washes all closed. Yet politicians lectured us from their podiums about keeping us safe. The trust in the government evaporated.
Activists didn't stop their fight even after their arrest.
This is just an illusion of power!
When we asked them why they were rallying,
this is out of control!
I want to be released out of my prison.
They're sick of Melbourne's strict lockdown restrictions.
Are you from the news? You better put that on the news. This is
Thousands of anti-lockdown activists gathered first at the Shrine of Remembrance, where the unmasked were forced to cover up. They then marched to Albert Park Lake, shouting coronavirus is a hoax.
Wake up, Australia!
They hurled abuse and taunted police.
You're a disgrace!
When officers pounced, he bolted, leaving his bag behind. These protesters were circled, outnumbered, and individually approached.
If you do not stand up and walk away with me, you will be carried. Move back!
The protest has now been going on for 2.5 hours. Police are losing their patience. As you can see, they're trying to disperse the crowd.
At the top of their lungs, protesters continue to yell the word freedom! But their actions may prolong Melbourne's Stage 4 lockdown restrictions.
It is not safe, it is not smart, it is not lawful. In fact, it is absolutely selfish.
Looking back now, it feels so surreal. We were told there was no alternative, but did it really need to be this way? Even people who impose these rules now admit some of them were never based on health advice. We were made to comply with vaccine passports, curfews and 5-kilometre rules while businesses collapsed and mental health crumbled. And yet, we're still here. Melbourne is very, very bruised and even broken at times. The community that once lined up for toilet paper is now lined up to support small businesses. We've learned the hard way what happened when fear drives policy. My hope is that we never forget these lessons, that we keep our leaders accountable and cherish our freedoms, because if there's one thing COVID taught us, is that nothing is more precious than connection and community. So this isn't a story about despair, it's a story about resilience. To everyone who lost a job, a business, or a loved one, your story matters. To every healthcare worker and teacher who kept going, from my heart, thank you. And to those who carry scars from this time, you're not alone. Because Melbourne, we will rise from this. God bless you all.